Hello, welcome to the show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 main reasons why successful and high achieving men are lonely. If that applies to you, if you are that person like I was, this whole thing is likely to resonate with you. If you're not a high achieving successful man, but you experience loneliness and you stumbled across this video, the second part of this is also going to apply to you. The deep psychology behind loneliness and the solutions to it. At the end of the video, I'm going to talk about the solutions. The good news is you can solve it. I've solved it in my life. We're going to get stuck straight into it. So let's start with the 3 main reasons. Reason number 1, which you won't hear in any other personal development or psychology or self-help place on the internet, I'm pretty sure. Reason number 1 is we are all fucked. I have been studying psychology and human behavior and emotions for 7 years intensively now. To change my own life, you can go back and find my story elsewhere. I won't go into that now to waste time. But to transform my own life, and then I started to coach people all around the world to help them transform theirs. And the one thing I keep coming back to time and time again as I go through this stuff is human beings are fucked. We are the most mental species on the planet. And I say that to you laughing as well, because what I find, and this might be the same for you as well, whenever I come back to that general principle, it makes me feel better. I think fundamentally one of the reasons we all struggle, or loads of us struggle, billions of people all around the planet, is we have this expectation that we should be okay. And fundamentally, the way our systems are set up, the more you learn about this stuff, if you watch this channel, if you watch other channels like it, learn this stuff, the more you find out about humans, the way our systems are set up, we're fighting a battle. We're like swimming up against the tide. So to get to a place where you feel great is fucking hard work. I'm telling you from experience. I'm not sure I've ever met anyone who just feels great all the time. It's a new place I'm venturing into now. New people I'm learning from, that there is that possibility. But if you look at most people in the personal development world, even to the biggest and best people in this space, the most popular, the Tony Robbins, the Jordan Petersons, they still have shit times. Being a human is hard work. We are a mad species. And I don't know what your belief systems are, and this might make you want to switch off, but if so, so be it. I love talking about this shit. Like, even the fact that, even the way we describe, like, we've figured out and we give meaning to the way we've arrived at this place in our society, in our civilization, is fucking mental. The stories we come up with, like, the very idea that, like, we've just evolved from monkeys and everyone just accepts that now. Like, one day they were monkeys and then they evolved into humans and then that stopped. It's like, it doesn't make any fucking sense to a 4-year-old, let alone to a grown-up who starts to think about it logically. So the way I like to think about it is, this is just all one big massive fucking experiment by an alien species that one day thought, I know what we should try. We should put this super brain inside a monkey and see what happens. And I think if you could, I love just like picturing chatting to people and having sit down meetings with these people, whoever you believe the creator is, right? Wherever you think this all came from, whether it came from the Big Bang or somewhere else, someone did this at some point. And I think we can all sit back now at this stage and go, it hasn't gone that well, has it? And I was thinking about this the other day, like, just think about us compared to every other animal on the planet. Like, imagine if you can call it God, or it's aliens doing an experiment, or universal power, whatever you believe in. They've put this brain inside a monkey, and then they've gone, I wonder what will happen. And then whenever they give us stuff, like we develop, we learn something new, we're the only animal on the planet that goes, I know what we could do with that. Like, so think about it. They go, imagine this, picture this as a thing. The aliens who created us go, let's give them like sharp objects, like knives, that'll help them move along in their society and see what they do with that. And some of the monkeys with clever brains start using those knives to like cut up fruit and make food and build homes. But then the most fucked up monkeys go, do you know what we could do with these knives? We could fucking kill each other. We can become the hardest monkeys by killing other monkeys, and then we'll have more power. And the aliens must be watching down thinking, that's mad. That's mad. Have you seen that? That keeps happening on my videos and I don't know how to stop it. Fireworks going off in the background. Anyway, I'm going to leave it in because I can't be asked to take it out. And then they report back. Imagine this, like the boss aliens going to the younger aliens, the junior aliens. What's happened? What happened when they gave them knives? Went, just loads of them started stabbing the others, and we'll give them something else, see what they do with that. So they give us fire, and they wonder what we'll do with fire. And some of the clever monkeys start using the fire to like stay warm through the winter and survive longer, colder winters, and then start cooking food, and that gives them more strength and more energy and more protein. It's like, oh, that's good. But then the mad monkeys, they go, do you know what we could use this fire for? We could use it to make bombs and kill people. That's good, isn't it? It's more powerful than the knives. And the aliens report back to the boss aliens, and he's like, fucking hell, that's mad, isn't it? And then this just keeps happening. They go, oh, let's give them planes, let's give them the ability to fly. And some people like go, oh, what do you think they'll use this for? Oh, they'll use this for going and visiting other monkeys in other parts of the world and learning things from them, and they can share information. You're like, yeah, some of them did do that. What did the others do? They just used them to be able to kill more people and like drop the fire on other monkeys and then be more powerful. It's like, okay. And then they gave us Wi-Fi and electricity and all these things, and it's just the same story on loop. This is what we're just absolutely fucked. I think if you were whoever created this now, you'd be looking down thinking, yeah, I'm not sure about it. So like at a deep level, we are just fucked. We are fucked. We are flawed fundamentally. That's obviously a mad way of describing it. I'm going to do a series of these videos. If you've seen any old episodes, future episodes are all going to talk more and more about the psychology. We're going to talk about that towards the end of the video, which explains why this stuff happens. But fundamentally, we're just flawed. And the more we can accept that, the happier we are, the more peaceful we are, because you know your upbringing then. It's not a given that you should be happy. I think that's the problem. Like, it's like we have this expectation that there's a baseline where everyone else is happy and connected and we're not, we're the odd ones out. And I can tell you, like, from coaching people all around the world, I always say to people on the first call I have with them, like, the gift I've got from coaching people, the biggest gift, the biggest privilege is I get to see behind the curtain into people's lives from all different backgrounds, all different countries, nationalities, races, religions, genders, sexualities. And we're all just the same. We're all just living the same life in different houses. And I wish I could show everybody that, because one of the biggest problems we all have, including me in the past before I started doing this, is we just think our problems are ours, especially with something like loneliness. Like the thing itself makes it feel like it's just us. But I promise you it's not. It's not just you. This is a problem you share with millions, if not billions, of people around the planet. So come back to that. Let's get into the serious stuff now, the main stuff. The second reason that high-achieving, successful men are lonely is statistical. Basically, like, think about it just from a pure numbers perspective. When you were in school, you were just put in a room with, if you're anything like me, 30 other kids, maybe 100 kids in your year, or 30, we had 60 in our year 2 class of 30 when we was in junior school, and then high school more, maybe a couple of 100 kids in your year. You've got your family, and those people, just on pure numbers, are spread. If you put them into a distribution curve, you know anything about statistics, like the normal distribution curve, I can't be bothered doing any editing on these videos now, but a normal distribution curve looks like this. It's low at one end, and then it comes up in the middle to a peak, and it goes down the other end. If you take anything in life, it all fits into a normal distribution curve, because most things fit into the middle. Most things, that's why we have something called an average, normal in inverted commas, that most people are grouped around the middle, and then you have fewer examples of extreme things. Now, this is, we're not going to go down rabbit holes. We could down loads of rabbit holes today. This is one of the problems with social media and a hugely connected world. It ties into this, is that the extremes tend to get the noisiest. So the people in the middle, just who are the majority, tend to get ignored in all parts of life because they're not making loads of noise. When you think about it, if you're a high achiever, like I was as a kid, you are automatically, just statistically, not like other people. You are on the outside of that normal distribution curve. High achievers, highly intelligent people, highly sensitive people. I've often said this as the more I learned about this, like I was the golden child in my family. If you're a high achiever, you may have been the golden child in your family. And one day there's a black sheep in our family. loads of problems, drug addict, serious issues. And as I was learning about all this stuff, I said one day, do you know what? The golden child and the black sheep have got more in common with each other than they have with the rest of the family. Everybody thinks it's great to be the golden child. I'll do more on this in the future, but it's not. So I'm speaking from experience, and if you're watching this as a golden child or reformed golden child as I am now, you will know this, that by being told you're special at a young age, you feel isolated, you feel different to other people. So you automatically feel lonelier because you're not like everybody else. So that's the black sheep is the same at the other end of think of the normal distribution curve. One end is the golden child and one end is the black sheep, but they've actually got more in common because they're both on the outside. They've got more in common with each other than they have with the people in the middle. So just statistically, you are unlike. The more you achieve, the more successful you are less like most people. And the further down the path you go of achievement and success, the fewer people are like you. So I remember I used to chat to an old personal trainer about this. And it doesn't matter in which part of the world you achieve. Like, so I was chatting to the personal trainer, and he was an Iron Man. Like, he loved training. He trained other people. Had a great body, super fit. But as he got fitter and fitter and developed more and more and became more extreme and achieved more in the fitness game, he had to become more dedicated to what he was doing. So his diet became stricter. He didn't drink. The way he built his life was very limited, which made him unlike the vast majority of other people. As he went down that path, there are fewer and fewer people on that path, which means there's fewer people to connect with who you've got things in common with. And what tends to happen with high achievers and successful people, speaking from experience, is you don't just develop in one area. So you might be doing that in the fitness area, but you're also doing it in the business world or your career, and you become more and more dedicated in that. And then you may also be doing it growing spiritually or trying to make your life better because you're trying to improve all parts of your life. But as you improve on each of those paths, there are fewer and fewer people with you. So you naturally, statistically become less like everybody else, and there are fewer people to connect with, which is fundamentally an issue. If I look at my life, that's exactly what happened in my life. So when I started out, if you go right back to the beginning, I always had loads of mates in school because I was inside the bubble where you're more like everybody else because you all start off in the same place. But then as I became more intelligent and more driven, and then there were fewer people inside my class or my year I connected with. And then back then I was really into footy and sport and massive drinker. So then I connected with all the people who were into sport and football and drinking. But then as the years rolled on and I developed and I needed to change my life for all different reasons, partly because I was fucked or mainly because I was fucked, I gave up drinking. I stopped going to watch football. I stopped wanting to hang around pubs and bars in city centres. I wanted more time in nature. I wanted to have deeper, more meaningful connections with people instead of sort of shallow friendships based on just drinking or football or surface level stuff. But again, as you go down that path, you become less like other people, so you drift, and that's how you can statistically become more lonely. So that's the second part. The biggest reason behind all of this, though, and why it's a problem, the statistical reason, what you've got to, the really thing to bear in mind is the statistical thing explains why we end up more alone. We have fewer people around us. The deeper psychological reason, which is the third reason, and the biggest reason, and this applies to everybody who experiences loneliness and suffers with loneliness, is all about what makes a high achiever. But this will probably apply to you as well, even if you're not a high achiever. But especially for high achievers, you've got to ask yourself the question, what makes a high achiever? And generally speaking, there are exceptions to this, obviously, but generally speaking, this all goes back to childhood. So people who end up in the society in which we've built as high achievers tend to have experienced traumatic childhoods. Now, the psychological and personal development worlds will like to talk about trauma. capital T trauma, small t trauma, but different sizes of traumas. I don't really like using the word trauma because to a lot of people, me included, I don't look at my childhood and think of the word of trauma as something that applies to it, because the way adults think of trauma is not the same way children experience trauma. Trauma to a child can be anything. It's not about the objective thing that happened to you. It's about the way your system took it on board. So something I've started to observe over the years, and I've not looked at any studies about this. This is just an instinct. I'll look into this at some point. I'm sure there are studies on it. I would guess or estimate or predict that there is a high correlation between how sensitive you are as a child and how intelligent you are as a child and how much trauma you experience. Because the more sensitive you are and the more intelligent you are, the more you are susceptible to stuff around you. So the same thing can happen to two kids, and one takes it on board as a traumatic experience and another doesn't. So instead of talking about trauma, what I like to talk about is programming experiences. As little kids, we are all basically being programmed like computers, and that's how we become the person we are. What happens in very basic terms for the purpose of this video, again, I'll go into this in more detail in other places if you want to keep following this stuff, is we develop at a young age because we're taught that we're not good enough deep inside for being who we actually are. Little things even like being told not to cry, not to be angry, not to be afraid, that teaches our subconscious system it's not okay to feel the way we feel. So we bury parts of ourselves and we replace it with personas that we develop. This is a massive exercise that I've developed over time that I take clients through. It's life-changing. Everybody always says it's unbelievable for seeing who we really are and seeing how this has happened since we were kids. We develop these personas, and we all have multiple different personalities. We all have different parts of us in different places. If you don't believe me, think about how you behave in work around your colleagues compared to how you behave with your partner, compared to how you behave with your kids if you've got them, compared to how you behave with your parents or your siblings. Maybe even behave differently depending on which sibling you're with or which group of friends you're with. Things will change, and we all have different personalities. That you can become a high achiever with many different personalities. So you might be highly creative, and that's how you become a high achiever. You might be very focused and very driven. People might think of you as being a bit autistic. You really focusing on hyper details. That can be a personality. Another one which was very typical of me and other people I've seen a lot of is a chameleon type character, where it's basically built on being a people pleaser and trying to please everyone. You adapt and you change who you are depending on who you're with, which at the time when you're doing it can feel like it's a skill, which it is. But the problem is what you're doing, which is the problem behind all of this, is you are denying your true self. So instead of just being who you are and allowing people to either like or dislike that, we are creating this personality in order, going right back to childhood, it's in order to survive, because we need the love of our parents. So we adapt in order to make sure they love us and they provide for us. And we take that through life. So the problem is that part of us deep inside doesn't feel good enough. So we are constantly through life trying to prove to ourselves and to the outside world that we are good enough. We're constantly doing things, trying to achieve more, trying to make more money, trying to buy more things, trying to sleep with more women, trying to buy bigger cars, bigger boats, whatever it is. It's all external, but it's all built on these personas. Basically, the way it works in very simple terms is the less we feel good about ourselves deep inside, the bigger our ego becomes. They're inversely proportionate. So we create, and often you might be watching this thinking, I'm describing you. This was definitely me. In the past, we create these personas, which are basically an outside shell. It's like a suit of armor that we're wearing in order to thrive in the world. I won't take you into the full exercise that I do around this now, but if you want to do a bit more of it just in your own time now, in your own mind. When I first learned about this, the girl who described to me described how this works and said, you should name any characters like this so that we can work with them. And She said, so think of the person and give it a name. She had a persona that liked to complain a lot. And she said she used to work with someone called Sandra who used to complain a lot. So she called this part of her Sandra. And I realised in that moment I didn't need to give my character a name because it was so prominent in my life. It already had a name. If you knew me back years ago when I was a lawyer and in my old life, everybody called me Copy, everybody. And Copy was this charismatic, optimistic, confident, outgoing, extroverted character who could walk into a bar and say hello to everyone and sing karaoke and hold court and run meetings and do everything you need to do as an extrovert. But that's not really me. What I was as a little kid, who the real core me is quite shy, quite introverted, quite quiet. But because I'd been born into an extroverted family, in a loud city, in a loud country, I needed a part of me that could do that so that I would survive in the world and get love and attention and meet my needs. And that's who I created. And the problem is, because we're not being true to our true self, it's our external characters who create connections with other people. And that's where loneliness comes in. So going back to what I said before, loneliness isn't about the number of people around us. Think about it. I've seen people talking about sort of the worldwide epidemic in loneliness. There's a big thing in America about it. And they try and resolve it through tech, through creating more connections for people. We live in the most connected human civilization of all time. You can go online and connect with thousands of people. You may have hundreds of people, thousands of people following you online, connected with you on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever. But that doesn't stop you feeling lonely. And that's where there's a massive difference between being alone and feeling loneliness. So if I look at my old life, I was surrounded by people. I was married. I lived with someone. I lived with my wife. There were times I felt chronically lonely. But I was surrounded by loads of people. I was popular. I had loads of friends. I was married. Like, that doesn't make any sense. If we think the solution is more people in our lives, it doesn't add up. And it's because being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. In my experience, and where I think this comes back to, is being our true selves. So if we're not our true self, we can never truly connect with somebody else because we're not truly connected with ourselves. So we feel lonely because we're hiding a part of ourselves. The real part of us, and this goes back to, depending on how you like to talk about this stuff, sometimes when you use these phrases, it turns people off, especially men, but it goes back to our inner child. The little kid inside us knows we're not being our true self, knows we're not connecting properly with other people. This is especially a problem for men because we've also got a societal issue around this where we're not encouraged historically to be vulnerable. And in order to connect with people, to avoid feeling lonely in an external sense, we need to be vulnerable. We need to connect about the deepest and darkest parts of ourselves. But society pushes men away from that, which is an extra problem for men as opposed to women in this scenario. So where we want to go to, and this is leading on to the solution then, what's the solution to all of this? As I said at the start, there is good news here. The solution is going internally first. So this comes back to what I was saying before. In my old life, I felt incredibly lonely, even though I was surrounded by people. Now, I am on my own probably 85-90% of the time, and I never feel lonely. There's me a thumbs up in the video again. If you know how to turn this shit off, tell me in the comments. It saves me searching on Google. It happens on coaching calls at really inappropriate times, which I didn't know. It does it on Zoom. It's doing it on video recording now, which is brilliant. What was I talking about? Yeah, we need to go internally. So I don't feel loneliness anymore. I am alone most of the time, a lot of the time, but I don't feel lonely. Now, that's not the same as there's stages of this. So I'm sort of in the end stages of what I'm going to talk to you about now, which is the first place to get to in my view. Other people will have different views on this, and you should find, I always say this, The work I do is all about becoming true to ourselves, finding our true self, reducing our ego. So I don't need you to do exactly what I say. I don't need you, like, you'll notice a lot of people online are very specific and say, you must do what they say. They're very certain. That to me is all egotistical. The most important thing is you find something that works for you. This is just my approach. This is my opinion. That might change over time. If it does, I'll share that with you. You've got to find what works for you. Different things often work for different people. My big thing is it's about going internally first. So we go back to the beginning and we do work to strip away these personas we've created so that we can become the true version of us, and we can accept who we are truly, the light and the dark, the good and the bad, all of the things we were taught when we were kids to be ashamed of. We bring them into the light. We accept ourselves, because once we can do that, we then create space to create meaningful connections with other people. Because this is the big kicker for this. In my opinion, again, I think you can get to a place in your life where you are peaceful without many people in your life. But if you want to live a truly fulfilled and thriving life, we need human connection. But we don't need any human connection. What we really need is connection with people who we have lots in common with and we can connect with on a deep level. And we can have fun with and relax with. It doesn't have to be ridiculously deep. And that's where I am now. So I've done all the deep work about uncovering who I really am and stepping more and more into who I really am. And this is the tough part of this transition for a lot of people, is transitioning away from old relationships that don't serve you anymore. And when if you've experienced this, you will know what I'm about when I say this. It will connect with you, that you can see it happening. When I read back through old journals, it took years for this to happen to me. Just started to be in situations where internally I was thinking, I'm not enjoying this. Like, I don't feel like I can be my true self here. And as I started to develop more and do more of this work, I felt less and less comfortable in old situations. And where I've got to now is I've created a rule for myself effectively, which is the only people I want to be friends with in this world are people who, when I am my true self, the fully true version of me, they enjoy that. They lift it up. They don't push it down. What you may find is, and I found this, there are people who, even well-intentioned, who would like to carry on with a friendship, but when I share with them who I am now, they can't help it. Like, I've got a mate, I always make my girlfriend laugh about this. I've got an old mate who I love to bits, and we've got great memories together, and I'll always cherish those times, and they were fantastic, and I don't regret a single second of us being friends. But I've changed loads in the past few years, and he hasn't. He's still who he used to be, and that's hard for him too. It's hard for our friends when we change, and for our family. It's important we acknowledge this. But when I talk to him, he'll ask me a question about what I'm doing now, and I'll say to him, do you want the true answer? And when I start talking to him about who I am now and my beliefs and stuff, we'll sit on a Zoom call sometimes in the past. I haven't spoken to him for a while now, and he'd be pulling his face as I'm talking. And he doesn't even, I can tell he doesn't even know he's doing it. But what he's saying to me is, oh, I don't like this. I'm uncomfortable with this. And I'm like, well, that's fine. A question I often ask people is, what do you think a friendship is? Like, what is a friend to you? And that's where we start when we're building external connections then. To me, a friend now, and this is not the answer I'd have given years ago, but to me, a friend now is someone I can be my true self around, who when I share with them who I am, I feel better afterwards. And I do the same for them. Like, we have conversations, and when we leave, we both feel uplifted. And I only have a handful of people in my life who are like that. So what I'm in the process of doing now is connecting with more like-minded people to build those fulfilling, thriving relationships. Now, the thing as you get older is, this is more difficult again. Go back to statistics and practicalities. When you're younger, you're put in scenarios where you just meet people who have stuff in common with you. So when you go to school, you are with kids the same age, who are from the same area, who are from similar backgrounds because they're from the same area. Same if you go to university, same if you start working somewhere. So through life, these things take care of themselves. School, university, law firms for me. When you get older, I'm nearly 45 now. There are no sort of natural places where I would meet anybody. So it takes more effort, and that's a problem because we've all got busier lives, and it takes a long time to develop a true relationship. So what I did to begin with was focus on my romantic relationship, because I always talk about priorities these days. That's the most important relationship in my life. Once that's stable and sorted, and that takes time and issues and problems, and this is the other thing about being fucked. Like, we are all fucked from childhood. So to create great relationships with anyone, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, it's going to take some pain, because we've got to work through some shit. But it's worth it, in my opinion, because where we get to then is a place where we start off fundamentally, we're okay by ourselves. And the fact that we're okay by ourselves means that we don't have to connect with other people, and the people who aren't good for us, who bring us down, who pull us back. I'll finish with a story about this, which is, you may have heard in the personal development space, people talk about the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is something I think it's important to often reflect on. There's this story you may have heard, which I heard ages ago, about love, of a guy's walking down a beach, and ahead of him he can see another fella fishing for crabs. And as he catches a crab, he just throws it in the bucket behind him. And as the guy walking gets closer to the fisherman, he sees that there's no lid on the bucket. And one of the crabs is starting to crawl up the inside of the bucket. And he shouts to the fisherman, "Hey mate, you need to be careful, because your crab's going to climb out the bucket." And the fisherman turns around and says, "Don't worry mate, because as one climbs up, the others reach up and pull him back down." And that's a really powerful story. And if any of this resonates with you, and you're not friends with people who lift you up, you will feel this. And it's not malicious, and it's not intentional, but that's what can tend to happen to people, especially if you're a high achiever and you want to develop in life. Being surrounded by other people who want to help you get out the bucket and don't pull you back subconsciously is really important. So that's it. I hope that all makes sense. If you are a high achieving, successful man and this resonates with you, and you struggle to connect with other men like you, which is an issue considering the world we live in, especially locally, there are more and more groups popping up. If you might be interested in joining a community, because if you're watching this and you've watched to this point, you are likely to have things in common with other men who have watched to this point. So if you might be interested in joining a community in which like-minded men come together who are interested in this stuff, can share things, connect with people on the same path as you, put in the comments, just write the word community in the comments. And if there's enough people interested, I may look into starting my own community around this stuff. If not, there are other places out there. This is what I'm doing now. I'm going to places where other people with my mindset would be, because that's where you're more likely to connect with these people. Remember, whilst there are fewer people on the path, we live in a hugely connected world now. So I always say this about when people are struggling to find relationships. You only need one person. At the time I'm making this, there's something like 8.5 billion people on the planet. You only need one person to create a loving, meaningful relationship with. Same with friends. You know, how many friends do you actually need? You go back in time, we had loads of friends. But as you're getting older, one best friend, 2, 3, that's loads. If you can get more than that, great. But we don't need a huge number of people. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we can find these people. And that's the phase I'm in now. I always say, you know, I'm practicing what I teach. I'm practicing what I share with everybody else. This is not me preaching from an ivory tower. This is not me saying, I've nailed this and I've got all the answers. I'm sharing with you where I'm up to on the journey. And the main bit for me is this internal piece of feeling, thumbs up again, feeling inside, accepting ourselves deep inside, not feeling lonely inside, because that then gives us the space to not need to rush into it. It's the same principles apply with romantic relationships. You don't need to rush into a relationship with the wrong person, because you can wait and find the person that's right for you. So I hope that all makes sense. If you like this stuff, I know it's traditional for people to say like and subscribe for me, for my benefit, but I've realised something the other day, even for myself. I've started liking more videos on social media because I've realized it's for my benefit. It's for your benefit. If you like this stuff, the best thing we can all do if we want to change our life is train the algorithms on the platforms we're watching to send us more stuff like this. So if you like this, click the like button so that wherever you're watching it knows to send you more stuff like this, not just from me. You'll get other videos from other content producers that the algorithm knows is like this stuff and will help you. Because hearing this stuff from different places, different opinions, different takes on it can really help. It's really helped me over time. So that's one last piece. I'm going to be doing more content on this topic. Watch out for more. If you want to see more, subscribe and you'll make sure you get everything notified to you as it comes through. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon.